I stood in the corner of what my brother Jake was calling his new living room, watching him play host to about 40 people who'd come to celebrate his housewarming party. The house was packed, friends, family, coworkers, even some neighbors he'd apparently already befriended in the 2 weeks since he'd moved in. "And this," Jake was saying to a group near the fireplace, gesturing grandly, "is going to be the media room. 90-inch screen, full surround sound system. My buddy Derek is hooking me up with the install next week." His girlfriend Brittany clung to his arm, beaming. "We're thinking of doing the master bedroom in sage green. Very calming, very sophisticated." I sipped my wine and said nothing. Just watched. Waited. Mom spotted me in the corner and hurried over, her face flushed with excitement. "Isn't this wonderful, Maya? Your brother finally has a real home. A place to build his future." I responded noncommittally. "You know, there's plenty of space here for you too," Mom continued, dropping her voice conspiratorially. "Jake mentioned you could have the basement. It's partially finished already. You just need to add a bathroom down there. Perfect for a single woman who's always traveling for work anyway." "The basement? In my house? How generous of him." "That's quite an offer," I said carefully. "We're just so proud of him." Mom gushed. "Buying his first house at 32. Your father and I never thought he'd settle down after that rough patch with the business loan, but look at him now." The rough patch. That was one way to describe Jake defaulting on a $50,000 business loan that Dad had co-signed, nearly destroying my parents' credit and retirement savings. Jake's voice boomed across the room. "Everyone, can I have your attention?" He climbed onto a chair, raising his beer. "I just want to thank you all for coming to celebrate this amazing milestone with me. This house represents everything I've worked for. A fresh start, a real foundation for the future." The crowd cheered. Brittany gazed up at him adoringly. "And I want to especially thank my parents for believing in me and my little sister Maya for being here." He laughed and everyone joined in. "Maya, we were just talking. You can totally have the basement. We'll be roommates again just like old times." More laughter. People turned to look at me, smiling expectantly. I smiled back and raised my glass. "That's very generous, Jake. But I don't think that's going to work out." "Come on, don't be like that," Jake called out. "Family sticks together. Besides, you're always on those business trips anyway. You barely need a place." Those business trips. My consulting work that had taken me to 12 countries in the last year, advising Fortune 500 companies on software infrastructure. But to my family, I was still just traveling for work. "Jake," I said calmly, "we should probably talk privately. Whatever you need to say, you can say in front of everyone. We're all family here." He spread his arms wide, playing to the crowd. I pulled out my phone and made a call. "Hi Susan. It's Maya Chin. Yes, you can come in now." Jake's smile faltered. "What? Who's Susan?" The doorbell rang. I set down my wine glass and walked to the front door, opening it to reveal Susan Martinez from Coastal Title Company, along with a man I recognized as Officer Davies from the local police department. A courtesy presence I'd arranged for what I knew would be an unpleasant conversation. "Good evening," Susan said professionally, holding a thick folder. "I'm looking for Jake Chin?" The party had gone completely silent. Jake climbed down from his chair, confusion giving way to concern. "I'm Jake Chin. What's this about?" "I'm from Coastal Title Company. We need to discuss the property located at 1847 Riverside Drive. This property." "Okay. I bought this house 2 months ago. Everything's legit. I have all the paperwork." "Actually, Mr. Chin, that's what we need to discuss." Susan opened her folder, pulling out documents. "According to our records and the county register, you did not purchase this property. You are not listed on the deed, the title, or any mortgage documents associated with this address." Jake's face went pale. "That's impossible. I signed papers. I closed on this house. I moved in." "You signed a rental agreement," Susan corrected gently, "with monthly payments of $2,800. The actual owner of this property is Maya Chin." Every head in the room swiveled to look at me. "What?" Jake's voice cracked. No, that's not right. Dad helped me with the down payment. We went to the closing together. Maya wasn't even there." "You went to a signing for a rental agreement," I said quietly. "You assumed it was a closing." You never asked to see the deed. You never verified ownership. Dad pushed through the crowd, his face red. Maya, what is this? Some kind of joke? It's not a joke, Dad. I bought this house 4 months ago. Cash purchase, no mortgage. Jake approached me 6 weeks later saying he'd found the perfect house and needed help with the down payment. I told him I'd handle it. He assumed that meant I'd loan him money. You said you'd handle it. Jake shouted. That's what you said. And I did. I let you move into my house. I drew up a rental agreement that you signed without reading. You've made exactly one payment, the first month's rent, which you called a down payment. I pulled out my own folder. You're now 30 days behind on rent. Brittany grabbed Jake's arm. Jake, what is she talking about? You said you bought this house. I thought I did. Jake ran his hands through his hair frantically. Maya, this is insane. You can't just, you're my sister. A sister? You just offered a basement in my own house, I pointed out. In front of 40 people. Without asking me first. Mom's voice was shrill. Maya, this is cruel. Your brother finally has something good and you're ruining it. He doesn't have anything, Mom. He's living in my property rent-free for the last month, throwing parties and planning renovations without my permission. Susan stepped forward again. Ms. Chin has asked me to clarify the legal situation. Mr. Jake Chin is a tenant, not an owner. As he is currently in violation of his rental agreement and is behind on payments, Ms. Maya Chin has the legal right to begin eviction proceedings. The word eviction landed like a bomb in the silent room. You're evicting me? Jake's voice was barely a whisper. You're actually evicting your own brother? You're actually planning to renovate my house without my permission, I countered. Installing a 90-inch TV, repainting the master bedroom, and offering my basement to me like it's yours to give. Dad stepped forward, trying his authoritative voice. Maya, I don't know what kind of misunderstanding this is, but we're going to sit down as a family and sort it out. Jake made an honest mistake. Dad, Jake is 32 years old. He signed a rental agreement without reading it. He's been living here for 6 weeks and hasn't once asked who actually owns the property. That's not a mistake. That's willful ignorance. Why would you do this? Brittany's mascara was starting to run. What kind of person tricks their own brother? I didn't trick anyone. I offered Jake a place to live at below market rent. He chose to believe he was buying a house because that's what he wanted to believe. Jake's friend Derek spoke up from the crowd. Dude, didn't you wonder why the mortgage was only $2,800 a month? This place is worth at least $850,000. The mortgage alone would be like $5,000. Jake's face showed he'd never done that math. He thought Maya was giving him family discount, Brittany said desperately. He thought his parents helped with a huge down payment. My parents have $12,000 in their savings account, I said, looking at Dad. The account I've been quietly supplementing for 3 years because Jake's defaulted business loan destroyed their retirement fund. They didn't help with any down payment because they couldn't. Mom gasped. You've been helping us financially? Someone had to. After Jake's entrepreneurial phase nearly cost you the retirement condo. The room was completely silent now except for the sound of Brittany crying softly. Officer Davies cleared his throat. Ms. Chin has the legal right to ask all guests to leave the property. This is a private residence and she is the owner. Everyone needs to leave? Jake looked around wildly at his guests. But this is my housewarming party. It's my house, I said simply. And yes, everyone needs to leave. Now. The next 30 minutes were chaos. Guests filed out in awkward silence, some shooting me dirty looks, others looking confused. Brittany locked herself in the bathroom, sobbing. Mom kept trying to negotiate, insisting we could work this out as a family. When everyone else had gone, only my immediate family remained in the living room. Jake sat on the couch, my couch, with his head in his hands. Dad paced angrily. Mom perched on the edge of a chair, dabbing her eyes. I'm offering you a choice, I said into the silence. You can stay here as my tenant. Market rate rent is $4,200 a month for a house this size. I'll give you the family rate of $3,500. First month, last month, and security deposit due within 7 days. Miss one payment and eviction proceeds immediately. $3,500? Jake looked up, his face blotchy. I can't afford that. Then you find a place you can afford. You have 30 days. This is blackmail, Dad said angrily. You're holding your brother's home hostage. It's not his home, Dad. It's my investment property. I'm being generous, even offering him market rate minus $700 a month. Why did you even buy this house? Jake's voice cracked. You don't need it. You're never here. I bought it because it was a good investment in an appreciating neighborhood. I bought it because I could. I bought it because I'm a real estate investor with a portfolio of 7 properties across 3 states. Mom's mouth fell open. 7 properties? My consulting business generates about $400,000 a year. I've been investing in real estate for 5 years. This house, the building where Dad's favorite restaurant is, I own that too, by the way, and 5 others. The building with Giuseppe's? Dad whispered. I bought it 3 years ago when the previous owner retired. Giuseppe pays me $8,000 a month in rent. You eat there every Sunday and never once wondered who owned it. Jake stood abruptly. So what, you're just rich now and you never told us? You let us think you were just some traveling consultant. I am a traveling consultant. A very successful one. And I didn't tell you because of exactly this. The moment you knew I had money, it would become family money. Jake would have another business idea that needed funding. Mom would have projects that needed financing. Dad would have investments that required cash. That's not fair, Mom protested weakly. Isn't it? Jake defaulted on a $50,000 loan last year. Dad co-signed despite being retired. He nearly destroyed your savings. Who quietly paid off that loan, Jake? Silence. I did. Through a third-party company so you wouldn't know. Because if you'd known it was me, you'd never have learned anything. You'd just come back for more. Jake's face cycled through emotions. Shame, anger, disbelief. You paid off my loan? I saved Dad's credit. I protected their retirement. I didn't do it for you. I did it for them. I picked up my purse. You have 7 days to decide. Pay the move-in costs and stay as my tenant or find somewhere else to live. Those are your options. What if I refuse? Jake said defiantly. What if I just stay here and don't pay? Then I file for eviction, it goes on your record and you'll have trouble renting anywhere decent for years. Your choice. I walked to the door, then paused. Jake, you're 32 years old. You've been coasting on potential and excuses for a decade. Maybe it's time to figure out what you're actually capable of when you can't rely on family to catch you. I hate you, he said quietly. You don't hate me. You hate that I'm not playing along anymore. 6 days later, Jake moved out. He couldn't come up with the $10,500 needed to stay, and his pride wouldn't let him ask me for help. He and Brittany found a studio apartment across town for $1,800 a month. Mom called me crying 3 times in the first week, accusing me of destroying the family. Dad sent one text. Was this really necessary? I replied, yes. I hired a property manager and listed the house for rent. A young couple with a new baby signed a year lease at $4,200 a month. They were thrilled with the space, treated it respectfully, and paid on time. 2 months later, Dad called. Giuseppe's is closing. My heart sank. What? Why? He says his landlord sold the building and the new owner is doubling the rent. I pulled up my property management portal. There was Giuseppe's building, still under my ownership. No changes. Dad, I didn't sell that building. And I haven't raised Giuseppe's rent in 3 years. You're still his landlord? Yes. A long pause. Why? Because Giuseppe makes the best carbonara in the state and I like knowing it'll be there when I visit. Because some things matter more than maximizing profit. Another pause. Your brother is struggling, Maya. I know. The studio is cramped. Brittany left him. He's working 2 jobs to make rent. I know that too. Are you happy about it? I considered the question. No. But I'm not unhappy either. I'm neutral. He's experiencing natural consequences for the first time in his life. Maybe he'll learn something. He's your brother. And he offered me a basement in my own house, Dad. At a party. In front of 40 people. Without ever once asking if I owned it or cared what happened to it. I took a breath. I love Jake. But I don't like who he's become. And I'm done enabling it. 3 months after the housewarming party, Jake sent me a text. Can we talk? We met at a coffee shop, Neutral territory. He looked different. Thinner. Tired. But something else too. More present maybe. I've been thinking, he started, stirring his coffee obsessively. About that night. About everything. I waited. I never asked who owned the house. I just assumed. I assumed you'd help me because you always do, or I thought you did. I assumed I deserved it because I'm family. He looked up. I assumed a lot of things. Yes, you did. Brittany left because she said I was a child. She said I expected the world to hand me things without working for them. He laughed bitterly. She wasn't wrong. What are you doing now? Working. Actually working. I got a job at a tech startup. Entry level, nothing glamorous. But it's stable. And I'm taking online classes in project management. He paused. I want to be the kind of person who can actually afford a house someday. Actually own it. That's good, Jake. I'm not asking you for anything, he said quickly. I just wanted you to know. I get it now. What you were trying to teach me. I felt something loosen in my chest. Not forgiveness exactly. But possibility. I'm glad, I said simply. We sat in silence for a moment. Then Jake asked, do you really own 7 properties? 9 now. I bought 2 more last month. He shook his head in wonder. How did you get so smart about money? I watched Dad co-sign your loan and nearly lose everything. I learned what not to do. Ouch. But fair. He took a sip of coffee. For what it's worth, I'm sorry. For the party, for the basement comment, for all of it. You deserved better. Thank you. Are we okay? I thought about it. We're getting there. But Jake, if you ever try to give away my basement again, I'm raising Giuseppe's rent. He laughed. A real laugh. Deal. A year later, I stood in the living room of my Riverside Drive property, now completely renovated and beautifully staged. The tenant family had moved out after their year lease and I was preparing to sell. The market had appreciated nicely. I'd bought the house for $775,000 and was listing it for $1.1 million. Jake showed up to see it before the listing went live. He walked through slowly, taking in the upgrades I'd made. New kitchen, refinished floors, updated bathrooms. It's beautiful, he said in the living room where his housewarming party had imploded. You did good. Thank you. I'm buying a condo, he said suddenly. 1 bedroom, nothing fancy. But it's mine. Well, mine and the bank's. I close next month. Pride surprised me, warm and unexpected. That's amazing, Jake. I know it's not like your portfolio or anything. Jake, stop. Your first property is a huge deal. You should be proud. He smiled, genuinely smiled. I am. And Maya? Thanks. For the tough love. I hated you for a while, but I needed it. You're welcome. Will you come to my actual housewarming? The one where I own the place. I pretended to consider it. Will there be a basement I can have? There's no basement at all, so you're safe. Then I'll be there. After he left, I stood alone in the empty house. The property that had exposed my brother's entitlement and my family's assumptions. The house where I'd drawn a line and enforced boundaries. It had been messy. Painful. Family fracturing. But necessary. And on the other side of necessary, we'd found something better. Not the automatic forgiveness that enabled bad behavior, but earned respect built on honesty and accountability. Jake was learning to stand on his own. I was learning I could enforce boundaries without guilt. We were both becoming better versions of ourselves. The house sold 3 weeks later for $1.15 million. I invested the profit in my 10th property, a small apartment building with 6 units. And when Jake closed on his condo, I sent him a housewarming gift. A doormat that said, "Actually mine this time." He sent me a photo of it at his front door with the caption, "Best gift ever. Basement's all yours if you want it." Oh wait. I smiled at my phone. We were going to be okay.